completed crocheting the 7 rows of my grind stitch. See how nice our shawl has started to form. Now as we go through, it's going to look a lot better. So what we're going to do now, starting from row 19, we're going to start creating our shells again. So please pay close attention, because this is the only time that I'm going to show how to do it. Once we finish the repetitions for the shells, we're going to work the rest of the shawl off camera. So the way that I'm going to start now, after the 7 rows of the grind stitch, is the same way that you're going to start as you go through your shawl. The only difference is that you're going to have more shells on each side of your shawl. So let's see how to start. Okay, so let's start. After the last set of 3 double crochet that I made, I'm going to turn my work without working any chains. Okay, so turn your work. Put your hook in the 2nd double crochet and work a slip stitch. In the 3rd double crochet, work 1 single crochet and chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So as we did down here, after every 10 chains that I work, which means that on top of those 10 chains I'm working the big shell, we're gonna have a total of 3 sets of chain 8 spaces. Then 1 set of 10 chains, which is a shell, then 3 sets, 3 chain 8 spaces, chain 10, 3 chain 8 spaces, and so on. So I'm starting with 10 chains, because in the beginning of the shawl we want to have a shell. So skip the first chain 2 space, put your hook under the 2nd and single crochet. Now we want 3 chain 8 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet in the next chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet in the next chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet in the next chain 2 space. So after my 3 chain 8 spaces, I'm going to work again 10 chains to start a new shell. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Skip the first chain 2 space, put your hook under the 2nd and single crochet. So what we're doing is, when we work the 10 chains, we always skip 1 chain 2 space and crochet in the 2nd one, and every time we're working the chain 8 spaces, we work in every chain 2 space. Okay, now we want the 3 chain 8 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet in the next chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet in the next chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet in the next chain 2 space. So we have 1, 2, 3 chain 8 spaces. Now again chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Skip the first chain 2, put your hook in the 2nd and single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet in the next chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet in the next chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Single crochet in the next chain 2 space. So again I have 1, 2, 3 chain 8 spaces. Now again chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. skip the first chain 2 space, single crochet in the second, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, single crochet in the next chain 2 space, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, single crochet in the next chain 2 space, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, single crochet in the next chain 2 space. So again, after my 10 chains, I have 3 sets, 3 chain 8 spaces, okay? So if you have crocheted correctly your 7 rows, before we reach the corner, we have 1 chain 2 space, and we're going to crochet in the center of the shawl. This is why we need 7 rows of the grinding stitch, because the 7 rows give me the amount of the chain 2 spaces that I need for the row of the shells to come out right. If you have an extra row or 1 row less, you're not going to have the right amount of chain 2 spaces to work this row. Okay, so I have worked the 3 chain 8 spaces. Now I'm going to chain 10. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, yarn over once, skip the first chain 2 space, put your hook in the second, which is the center of my shawl, and double crochet. Okay, so on the right side I have 10 chains in which I'm going to work a big shell. Now chain 2, 1 2, and work one more double crochet in the same chain 2 space. So this is how we are always going to be working the center from here on, okay, once we start working after the grinding stitch. Now after this double crochet, I'm going to chain 10 again. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Now again, skip the next chain 2 space, put your hook in the space after that in the second chain 2 space, and single crochet. So this is how the center of my shawl is going to be looking from here on. Okay, now keep working the same steps that we did on the right side and on the left side as well. So after my chain 10, I'm going to have 3 chain 8 spaces, chain 10, 3 chain 8 spaces. So once I work my last 3 chain 8 spaces, and I'm going to have to work the last chain 10, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to do it. I've worked my last 3 chain 8 spaces, and now we're going to finish the row by chaining 10. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. I'm going to skip the chain 2 space, single crochet in the first out of the 3 double crochet. Okay, put your hook in the last single crochet, in the last double crochet for this row, which is the chain 3 counting from the bottom, and slip stitch. So this was the end of row number 19. Now we're going to start row number 20 by chaining 3. 1 2 3. Now those 3 chains count as my first double crochet. So in every chain 10 space, we always work 10 double crochet. But now the first double crochet is a chain 3 that I just worked, so I'm going to work 9 more stitches in the chain 10 space. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and 10. So along with my chain 3 that I worked in the beginning, I have 10 double crochet. Now go right ahead in the first chain 8 space and single crochet. Chain 8, 1 2 3 5 6 7 8, single crochet in the next chain 8 space. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, single crochet in the next chain 8 space. So in this row, from the 3 chain 8 spaces that I had, now I'm left with only 2. Now I'm going to go right ahead in the chain 10 space and I'm going to work 10 double crochet. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and 10. So you can go ahead and spread out the double crochet on top of the chain 10. Okay, so it's kind of equal from the one side to the other. Now go right ahead in the first chain 8 and single crochet, chain 8, 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, single crochet in the next chain 8 space. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, single crochet in the next chain 8 space. And now I've reached the next chain 10 space. So again, in the chain 10 space, I'm going to go right ahead and work 10 double crochet. So again, from the 3 chain 8 spaces that I had in the previous row, now I have 2. So 10 double crochet, again 2 chain 8 spaces in total, 10 double crochet in every chain 10 space, and so on. Once I crochet the single crochet right here in the last chain 8 space, once I reach the corner of my shawl right here, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to work on top of those chain 10 spaces over here, because from here on we need to know how to do that so we don't get confused with the stitches. I've worked my single crochet in the chain 8 space over here, so now I've reached the first chain 10 for the center of my shawl. So what we're going to do when we are in the center of our shawl, under the chain 10 space, I'm going to work 9 double crochet instead of 10. Okay. 1 2 3 4 5 6, oops. So far I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Now the 10th stitch, we're going to work it on top of the double crochet in the center of the shawl. Okay, so this is the 10th double crochet. This is why we work the 9 under the chain 10 space, the 10th on top of the double crochet. Now we're going to chain 2, 1 2, and work 1 double crochet on top of the next double crochet. So this double crochet that I just worked is the first out of the 10 that I'm going to work for the under the chain 10 space. So as I did on the right side, again on the left side I'm going to work 9 double crochet under the chain 10 space. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and 9, and the double crochet that we worked here in the beginning, we have 10 double crochet over here again. Okay, so again, single crochet under the first chain 8 space, Okay, so this is how the center of our shawl is going to look like from here on. Okay, we're gonna have a chain, we're gonna have a chain 10 space on the one side, a chain 10 on the other, and 10 double crochet here, and 10 double crochet over here. So keep working the left side of the shawl in the same exact way, and once I reach the last chain 10 space, I'm gonna turn my video back on to crochet it together. I have worked my single crochet on the last chain 8 space, and I'm left with my chain 10 to finish my row. Now, as I did in the beginning of the row and in the center of my shawl, the same thing I'm going to do here. I'm going to work only 9 double crochet under the chain 10, and the last double crochet, the 10th, is going to be worked in the last stitch of the row. So let's start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can open up your stitches so they even out on the chain 10 space. Okay, so I have my 9 double crochet. Now the 10th stitch, I'm going to work on top of the slip stitch that I worked in the beginning of the previous row. That's my 10th stitch. Okay, now I'm going to start row number 21 by chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now those 4 chains count as a double crochet and a chain 1 space. So as we did down here on the shells, this is the row where we work 1 double crochet on top of every double crochet with a chain 1 space in between. So this is my first stitch. Go on the next double crochet and work a double crochet, chain 1. Third stitch, chain 1. So I'm going to be working a chain 1 after double crochet. I'm just not going to be mentioning it. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and after the last double crochet, chain 1, and go ahead in the first chain 8 space and single crochet, chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, single crochet in the second and last chain 8 space. So in this row we are left with only 1 chain 8 space, 3 in the first, 2 in the previous, and 1 chain 8 space now. Now after the single crochet, again chain 1. Okay, and go right ahead in the next 10 double crochet and work 1 double crochet with a chain 1 space in between. Chain 1 after the last double crochet, single crochet, chain 8, single crochet, chain 1, again 10 double crochet with a chain 1 space in between. Once I work my single crochet in the last chain 8 space before the center of my shawl, I'm going to turn my video back on. Okay, I've worked my single crochet in the last chain 8 space on the right side of my shawl. I am going to chain 1, and I'm going to work my 10 double crochet on top of the 10 double crochet with a chain 1 space in between. Starting from the first stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and my 10th stitch is the double crochet that I worked on top of the double crochet of the previous row. Now I'm going to chain 2 because it's the center of my shawl. 1, 2, and double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Oops. And this is the first out of the 10 that I'm going to work on the left side of the shawl. Okay, so 1, chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Chain 1 and single crochet in the first chain 8 space. Okay, so let's see what we just did over here. Okay, I worked my 10 double crochet on the right side, chain 2 and the 10 double crochet on the left side. Now this chain 2 in the center is always going to be separating in half my 2 shells, and it's going to mark the right side and the left side of the shawl. Okay, now keep working the left side in the same exact way, and once I reach down here where I'm going to work in the last shell, I'm going to turn my video back on. I'm almost done with row number 21. Okay, I've worked my shell, chain 1 single crochet, chain 8 single crochet. After the single crochet, I'm going to chain 1 again, and I'm going to work 1 double crochet on top of each stitch with a chain 1 space in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the 10th stitch is the 3 chains that I worked in the beginning of the previous row, so the 3rd chain counting from the bottom to the top. Now we're going to start row number 22 by chaining 5, and on row number 22 on top of every shell we're going to be working the same exact thing, 1 double crochet in every stitch with a chain 2 space in between this time. Okay, so chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and turn your work. So those 5 chains count as a double crochet and a chain 2 space. So this is my first double crochet. Start from the next stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now after the 10th stitch, because in this row we're working 2 chains after every double crochet, I'm going to chain 2 and I'm left with only 1 chain-8 space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work 1 single crochet under the chain-8 space and chain 2 and go right away in the next shell and work again my 10 double crochet with a chain 2 space in between. Okay, work the same thing up until you reach up here the center of the shawl, where again you're going to work 1 double crochet on top of each of the first 10 stitches with a chain 2 space in between. Work the chain 2 that separates the 2 shells, and starting from the first stitch, work your first 10 double crochet with a chain 2 space in between to start working on the left side of your shawl. Now in the end, we're going to work again 1 double crochet on top of every stitch with a chain 2 space, and the 10th, the last stitch for this shell, is on those 4 chains that we started the previous row, the 3rd chain counting from the bottom. Once I finish row number 22, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to start row number 23, where we're going to start working our shells all over again. I've completed row number 22. Now we're going to start row number 23, in which we're going to start our shells all over again. So without chaining, turn your work. Put your hook in the first double crochet and slip stitch. Put your hook in the first chain 2 space and single crochet. Now chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, skip the first chain 2, put your hook in the second and single crochet. So I'm starting my row with a shell. Now after the 10 chains, we want to work a total of 3 chain 8 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2 space, put your hook in the second and single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2, put your hook in the second and single crochet. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip the first chain 2, put your hook in the second and single crochet. So after my 10 chains, I worked a total of 3 chain 8 spaces. Now I'm going to chain 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And as I did down here, I'm going to skip 4 chain 2 spaces and I'm going to single crochet in the 5th one. So 1 chain 2 space, 2 chain 2 spaces, the single crochet, 3 chain 2 spaces, 4 chain 2 spaces, 5 chain 2 spaces and single crochet. Okay, so let's see what we're doing in this row. So on top of every shell, I'm working 3 chain 8 spaces and I'm joining the 2 shells together with my chain 10. So this means that between the 2 shells that I was working in the previous repetitions, I'm going to have a new shell in between. So after I work my 3 chain 8 spaces, I chain 10 and go right ahead on the next shell and work my single crochet, then chain 8, single crochet in the second chain 2 space, chain 8, single crochet, chain 8, single crochet, chain 10, and again count your 4 chain 2 spaces and single crochet in the 5th one. Okay, so this is how this whole row is going to be worked. Once I reach the center of my shawl, I'm going to turn my video back on. Okay, I've worked all of my 3 chain 8 spaces and the chain 10s and everything, and I've reached the spot where we're going to crochet the center of the shawl. Now, after the 3 chain 8 spaces that are in the big shell that's before the big one in the center. I have chained 10, and what I want you to be aware of is that when you are in this row of repetitions, when you are in row number 23, when we are in row 23, the repetitions of row 23, when you chain your 10, you're going to skip 3 chain 2 spaces and crochet in the 4th chain 2 space instead of skipping 4 chain 2 spaces and crocheting in the 5th one. Okay? So make sure that you remember this. So count 1, 2, 3, 4 chain 2 spaces and single crochet in that chain 2 space, in the 4th chain 2 space. Now chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, single crochet in the 2nd chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, single crochet in the 2nd chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, single crochet in the 2nd chain 2 space. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3 chain 8 spaces. So now we're going to chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yarn over ones. Now skip 1 chain 2 space, 2 chain 2 spaces, and double crochet on top of the double crochet that's after the 2nd chain 2 space. Okay, double crochet. So in order to make sure that I just worked the double crochet on top of the correct stitch, this double crochet is on top of the one in the previous row, previous row, previous row, and it's on top of this double crochet over here. Okay, so I just finished the 1/2 of the center of my shawl. Okay, now we're gonna work the other half, the second big shell. So chain 2, 1, 2 to separate the 2 big shells. Work 1 double crochet on top of the next double crochet and chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now skip 1 chain 2 space, 2 chain 2 spaces, and single crochet in the 3rd chain 2 space. Okay, this is how my work looks like so far. So what I did over here is the same thing I did down here. I have 2 big shells that are the center of my shawl. Now again, chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, single crochet in the 2nd chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, single crochet in the 2nd chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, single crochet in the 2nd chain 2 space. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3 chain 8 spaces. Now I'm going to chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is what I have so far. I've completed crocheting on top right here on the center of my shawl. Now, as I did when I reached the center of my shawl, where I chained 10 and I single crocheted in the 4th chain 2 space, I want to do the same exact thing as I'm leaving the center of my shawl. So I have the same thing done on the right side of the shawl as well as in the left side. Okay? And this happens, as I mentioned earlier, only in the center. and only the repetitions of row number 23. So skip 1, 2, 3, put your hook in the 4th chain 2 space and single crochet. Chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and single crochet in the 2nd chain 2 space. Okay, well, so from here on, after we crocheted the center, the whole rest of the left side is being worked in the same exact way we did the right side. 3 chain 8 spaces, and then chain 10 and single crochet in the 5th chain 2 space. Once I reach down here, where I'm going to have to crochet the last chain 10, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to do it together and how to start row number 24. I'm almost done with my row. I've worked my last 3 chain 8 spaces. Now I'm going to chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to work a single crochet under the last chain 2 space. And now counting from the bottom to the top, put your hook in the 3rd chain and work a single crochet, slip stitch. Okay, and we have just completed the row. Now the next 3 rows we're going to work off camera, row 24 to row 26, because they are the same exact steps that we did in row 20 through row 22. So we're repeating steps that we did from row 20, 21, and 22 to finish rows 24, 25, and 26. We're working the same exact steps. So once I finish working those 3 rows, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how my project looks at that point, and then we're going to continue off camera. So this is how your work should look at this point. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and work the next 3 rows off camera, and then I'm going to turn my video back on. I've completed crocheting the repetitions up until row number 26, and this is how my project looks like at this point. Okay, once you've completed crocheting row number 26, you should have 6 shells on the left side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6 on the right side, counting from this shell up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, now we're going to continue off camera, and we are going to be repeating rows 12 through row number 26. I've completed crocheting, okay, and after my last double crochet, I'm going to chain 1, cut the yarn, pull the loop, and tighten up. Now, I have completed the shawl, and this is how it looks, starting from the center, starting from the top. Okay, this is how our shawl looks like. Now, after I turned my video off, I repeated the rows of repetition 2 times. Okay, this right here is the first time that I repeated, and this right here is the second time that I repeated the rows that I had in order to have the virus granny shawl design. Okay, so I repeated a total of 2 times the repetitions, and I used almost the whole yarn ball, and this is what I have left out of the ball. So we're gonna need 1 skein of 4-ply yarn, which is 1050 meters each skein. Now, because I believe that in this design the fringes are not gonna look that nice, what we're gonna do is we're going to create 3 tassels, 1 in each of the 3 corners of our shawl. So let's see an older video that I had made on how to make tassels, and once we see how to create the tassels, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to attach them on our shawl. So the tool that I'm going to be using to create my tassel is a lid from a package, and the reason I'm using it is because it's kind of open over here, so it's going to be easy for me to slide the yarn under my tassel and make a knot. So if you do not have a lid like this, you can use a piece of hard paper or something like that in order to create your tassels. So I'm going to take my yarn and adjust it in the bottom right here of my lid and start wrapping the yarn around. So we want to wrap the yarn around our lid to about a thickness of 1 centimeter, so as thick as my fingers right over here. So this is how thick I want to keep on wrapping the yarn around the lid. Okay, so you can wrap it around many times. So depending on the use of the tassel, you're going to adjust the thickness. Because in some cases we want to have a thinner tassel, in other cases we want to have a thicker one. So depending on the use, you're going to adjust the thickness. Okay, so I'm not going to wrap the yarn around anymore. Cut the yarn down here. Now cut a yarn pretty long, because we're going to use a double strand. So fold it in half. And take the yarn and slide it under the tassel. Now I'm going to make a knot up here. Okay, in this yarn, the strands that I use to make a knot, do not cut them because we're going to need them in the end. So slide carefully the tassel out of the lid. And now we're going to cut through right here in the center. Okay, so all the fringes are in the same length. Okay, so now I'm going to cut another piece of yarn. And I want it to be longer in the one side and shorter in the other side. The longer side we're going to use to wrap it around our tassel. Okay, so put your tassel on top of the yarn, and I want from the top up to where I'm going to tie my knot, I want it to be about 1 centimeter. Or you can just put your finger and you want to make the knot right here in the end of your finger. Okay, so make a knot. Now bring the short yarn at the top, and with the long yarn start wrapping it around your tassel right where you made your knot. So I want to wrap it about 4 or 5 times around. Okay. And now I'm going to make a knot to secure it. Now the yarn that we use to make the knots, you can decide to cut them short, but because I'm afraid that my knot is going to come out, what I always do is I take the yarn okay, so take the yarn and sew it in the back of the yarn that we were wrapping around our tassel. So just bring it in the back. And we're going to do the same thing with the other one too. Do the same exact thing, sew it in the back of those loops, in the inside of the tassel. Okay, and what we're going to do now is we're just going to cut those two pieces of yarn in the same length with the rest of the fringes. So now it's not going to be dangerous for your tassel to come apart. So our tassel is ready. Okay, now let's see how to attach our tassels. This is my first one on the one corner of my shawl. Okay, I attached my tassel on the stitch on the last double crochet of the row. Now going on to the other corner, I'm going to take my other tassel, okay, from the yarn that I have tied up here on the top, the strings of yarn that I have left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the other tassel on the first double crochet of the row. Now the first double crochet is the chain 3, so counting from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top, sorry. Put your hook in that third chain. Take your tassel through that stitch and make a knot. Okay, then weave in the ends up here on the stitches, and the last fringe you're going to attach in the center of the shawl, right over here. See where we have the chain 2 that separates the two shells every time? So right here in the chain 2 space, you're going to attach your last fringe. Okay, so right here in the chain 2 space that separates the two shells for the wire shawl, for the wire stitch. Okay, so this is where we're going to attach our last tassel. So this is how the granny wire shawl is being made now. Because in the end your shells over here, because we are making too many increases right here for the shells, you're going to have like a little wavy over here. See how it looks? Now in order to avoid that, once you finish the shawl, before you attach your tassels, make sure you block your project. This means that you're going to stretch out the shawl on a straight surface, and you're going to wet your shawl a little bit, okay, so it's kind of damp, and you're going to stretch it out nicely to give it the final design that you want your shawl to have. And once it's dried, it's going to look like it is being flat ironed. Okay, make sure you do not iron your crochet projects, because especially the ones that have acrylic yarn in them, they get destroyed. Okay, so you always want to block your projects. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and if you like the video, please press like and leave a comment. Thanks again. Bye bye.